Okay, so what we're going to do now is to export a bilingual file from memoQ so that you can proceed with translation or review on your mobile device, on your iOS mobile device, be that an iPad or an iPhone. And perhaps one day, if this is working on an Android platform, you can use that as well. So I'll just go in here into memoQ, and we see the same file I used for the previous video for the dictation in OS 10 running in a virtual machine. I am also using the same document for showcasing how this works with STL Trados. So what we're going to do here is something quite simple. We'll go here into Documents, Export, and we'll choose Export Bilingual. In this dialog, you can export it on an XLIF file or a plain XLIF for other tools. This is the memoQ version. A Trados compatible bilingual doc, which is kind of the same I did specifically with Trados, but what you actually want to use for this, because it makes your life a lot easier by using a mobile device, is using a 2-column RTF. And actually, I'll just put this as open the exported bilingual file in Word, because that will allow me to show it to you right after the export. You can export comments, the segment status, format tags along with the memoQ internal style. You have a few options here. And you can also include lock segments in the export. This may be useful for context. These will appear as grayed out throughout the entire row, so you cannot mistake them for segments to be updated. And memoQ will know that since these are locked out, he's not supposed to do anything with it. So we'll just click Export, and we'll give it a new place. And I am on my alias for the iCloud with the demo on it, so I'll just call it memoQ bilingual test file, and the extension will be RTF. So I am now saving it, and as you can see, this is what it looks like. If we compare this to a Trados file, it looks rather similar. You have a column for comments, you have one for status, you have one for segment ID. Trados has all of these except for the comment, and then you have the source and the target language columns. So now what you're actually going to do is that you're going to import this file or open this file inside whatever application you want to use on your iPad or iPhone, and you will use the built-in dictation tools to dictate into each and every one of these empty target segments. Or if you're actually doing this for a review, you can just edit and review the parts that are already translated. Okay? So this is done. It has been saved. So it's time to open it on your mobile device. Okay, there is just one minor niggle with this workflow, which is Apple, in their infinite wisdom, have decided to deprecate the support for the RTF file format on their iOS devices. That means that when you use Pages, for example, to try to open this file, you will see the preview for the contents just fine, but the file name will be grayed out and you will not be able to open it. This will also happen in Microsoft Word for the iPad or the iPhone, and while there are some apps that are able to open and edit RTF files, and some rather good ones such as Textilus, the contents will be all messed up. So the quick and the dirty trick here is that you have exported the RTF file, but now you're going to save it as a docx file, and you're going to edit it freely in whatever application you want on the iOS. I would, for instance, prefer to do it in Microsoft Word, but your choice. You can even use it on Google Docs if you want. And what will happen is that you will save the contents in a docx file format, but when you import it back into memoQ, he will use the table RTF filter, and that will not cause any problems. You will be able to import the contents, and it won't be from an RTF file. So what we will do now is we're going to save this as you see the RTF file there. We're just going to save it as a Word document, and let's add a little bit something to distinguish it from any other file, which is memoQ RTF conversion. This should help us find it easier or more easily. Okay, and then we save it. Yeah, and I have this warning always. Okay, we're saving in a new format, it's fine. And then we go back and work on the mobile platform now. So, we're now in the iPad, and what we need to do is to open the bilingual file we just exported out of memoQ and edit by adding the contents on the target column by using the dictation tool. So for that we need to open one of those productivity text or processors, and you have a choice of several: Pages, Microsoft Word, Textiles, which is pretty cool, and even Google Docs right there at the bottom is free and easily usable. That's the one I just highlighted. I'll be using Microsoft Word because I'm more familiar with it and I have a subscription that encompasses all platforms. So I get an error message because of connection to OneDrive, but I have the file on iCloud, so I just open it over there, and here it is, just like we saw it on the PC. And what we need to do now is to select the target row and column and proceed with dictating the content into it. It is pretty important that you have the cursor in the correct target row / column, otherwise you may mess up the table. Don't worry too much about the confirmation status because memoQ will import that regardless of the status. That's just the way it fixes the content back when it's imported. You can zoom in and zoom out if that makes life any easier, like I just did. And what you need to do now is just click on the target cell in the table and make sure you're in the correct language, because otherwise you just get gibberish. Click the little globe button and make sure you are in the correct target language for you. And when you're done, you can click on the little microphone. You will not be hearing me dictate because I just recorded the screen interactions. I have no sound for this, but you will see the contents appearing on screen as I dictate. And you will see also that it's pretty damn good. There are a couple of capitalization issues, but nothing much more serious than that. There is one thing though, which you'll see just now when I finish, which is Word formatted by adding a tabulation into it and deleting some text at the end. Never mind that, just click the undo button and you will get, it's the third button from the left hand at the side at the top of the screen, and you will get exactly the output that the dictation gave. And you now have to fix one superfluous space between the last word and the full stop at the end. You will have a capitalization thing with the translation of the word Persian, and that's about it, really. So what we just need to do here is either continue or B, just save the file and go back. You could continue in any of these, but since we already updated row number 5, I think, we can just save the file by clicking on the back button. Click the first option, which is save. You can also do save as in a different place, and it will now update on your iCloud drive, and you can go simply back to memoQ and proceed with an import. So we're back in the computer, and we need to use the bilingual RTF file, which has the new content, to update the previously existing translation. I'm going to boot up the virtual machine here, which is already running memoQ and the demo project, and we see the test file here. Now, if you recall, we had to convert it from an RTF file into a docx file so that it could be open in the iPad. Well, now what we need to do in order for memoQ not to mess up is to open both files, the docx file and the previously exported RTF file, and we'll just open them side by side. Let's just put it like this, close this little window, and take the zoom way off. And do the same with the RTF file, because memoQ will not recognize this as the proper RTF file. It must mess up somehow with the headers. So we're just going to copy this content on the RTF file, the last three columns, the comments, status, and the content of the target language, we'll just copy it to the RTF file, which you now see is done. We can now save the RTF file and forget all about the docx. Go back into memoQ, select Import with Options, and choose the RTF file. When you choose the RTF file, you get this option, importing it as a table RTF as an update for testfile.docx. You do so, and it says it has successfully updated one row, which was row number 5, the one we had edited on the iPad. But you see that the translation progress didn't advance because the status was still as unconfirmed. If I had put confirmed on it, it would have locked it as green. So now you can just come here and do your minor adjustments, or just leave it for a review, and done. So that's it for the basic functionality of using dictation and bilingual RTF files or docx files, if you're using Trados, to move data back and forth between your CAT tool and your mobile device that allows you to use dictation.